Hello everyone, my name is Jordan and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be retrieving a YouTuber's subscriber count from the internet and then displaying that as a broadcast every so often. So I went ahead and did some searching around and found some good tools for doing this. And the first thing we need is this thing called Uni Rest. Now you can use anything you want, but this is just an HTTP library for reaching out to the internet and pulling some data back. So you can see here this is all how you install it with Maven. So we're just going to go ahead and go like this. So we're just going to copy this with Maven, open up our pom.xml, and then stick that in the dependencies area. Where's that? Oh, down here. Stick that down here and just let that figure itself out. And we also need to get all of these guys in here, which are just Apache tools. And then Json as well, so we can just go ahead and get those all initialized in there. Put some spaces through to make it a little more clear. Apparently that's not a thing. There we go. Okay, cool. So now it'll do that. And then we don't need these. And then if you just want to download the jar file, go ahead and just do this. It's really, really easy. And there you go. Next thing, you want to head to the link in the description, and also the Uni Rest link will be in the description as well, so you can just quickly get all that set up. The next link you want to go to is this Google APIs thing, which will just let you access this data. So go ahead and sign into your Google account and all that, and then go ahead and go to the page in the description. Go ahead and click on YouTube Data API, and then we're going to go into the API console here. It's going to say at the top, a project is needed to enable these APIs. We just need to say create project. And then we're just going to say create again. And now we're just going to say YouTube sub count. Whoops. And then this project quota. You can ignore this. This is basically because eventually you'll probably need to pay for this. I'm not quite sure when that would be. But yeah, Google does charge for this API. So just go ahead and let this figure itself out. Which should not take too long. And then what you're going to end up getting from this is an API key and then all sorts of different documentation. So while this is actually loading, I'm going to put this over on the side. We're going to begin setting up our actual project. So let's go ahead and jump into IntelliJ here. Open the YouTube count Java class. I've already created this plugin like I do every video. I'm just going to delete the final here because we don't need that. So let's just go ahead and do some basic logic while we wait for that API access to work. So let's go ahead and we're going to make a Bukkit runnable. So we can just go ahead and say get server.getScheduler.schedule. No, actually it's .run task. And we are going to say, actually, I don't think we need to care about that. We're just going to say run task timer. We're going to say the first one's plugin. Next one is a runnable, so we're just going to create a new runnable. The third one is, oh, you know what? This wants me. We're just going to go ahead and replace this with a lambda. Just follow IntelliJ's instructions there. And then we just want to put 0 for delay, and then not 20. So, we're actually going to put 20 there, but let me explain this. We're just going to say 20 times 60, and this will run once every minute. We can just remove that. Okay, cool. You know what? We're going to make this 30, so this will be run every half minute. So 20, this is 1 second, and then times 30, this will get us our total number of ticks for every half a minute. So let me explain what I just did here with the lambda stuff. So basically, I learned this relatively recent from a YouTube comment. Apparently, you're supposed to use lambdas instead of creating anonymous classes, like with the new runnable thing. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to create a lambda. Basically, you can just put these parentheses, this little arrow thing, and then just put brackets, and there you go. And then it'll just start doing everything as it would normally. Now, you may, if you want to target versions of Java earlier than Java 8, I think you can't use lambdas, so you have to just do that same new runnable stuff. But either way, it will work, but lambda is the recommended way to go. Awesome. So now we can go ahead and actually use the Uni Rest API. So as you can see here, we can just go ahead and take this real quick and copy and paste all this in here. Now this is probably going to have some exceptions here. Yeah, Uni Rest exception. Awesome. So we can just go ahead and just completely copy paste all that. Now we do have one slight problem. The API stuff isn't working. So I'm just going to go ahead and reload this page and recreate this project. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so I switched over to other Google accounts and it seems to work fine. So that problem won't happen to you, but it's just the way my Google account is set up. It doesn't like it. So let's just go ahead and continue on here. So we're going to say YT sub count, create our project. Obviously, you've probably all done this already. That's okay. So let's switch over to our YT sub count. As soon as that loads up, I already have another project in here apparently. So anytime now. Oh, it looks like it has one notification. Awesome. So now it's created our project. We can switch over to it and then find our API section here. Let's just go ahead. Whoops. Okay, so we want to do go to API overview. We want to press enable API, YouTube data API, and now it will let us enable it. So we can just go ahead and do that, get that all set. And now it's going to want us to create credentials. So we just click this create credentials button. And this will give us access to all this stuff. So let's just see. I'm not quite sure what to pick here. We can pretty much just say web server, probably. Yes, it's probably going to end up being web server. You could do Android because that makes some sense because it's Java. But I'm just going to say web server because I'm not quite sure what it wants me to do. Awesome. So it's giving me this API key here. Obviously, I'm going to blur this out. But yeah, so this is our API key. So we can just go ahead and hit done here. Okay, so it's created our API key, so we can now go ahead and copy that. And then we want to go ahead and just open up Google and type in YouTube subscriber count API. And then this first Stack Overflow answer will be the key to us. So we have this link here in the answer. So I'm just going to go ahead and quickly create a class to hold my API key. So we're just going to say API. Actually, yeah, we'll do this. So I'm going to go ahead and create that class just so I don't have to continue doing a ton of editing work to blur out my API key. And yeah, I'll be right back. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so I went ahead and modified a few things about our Uni Rest request statement here. I inserted my channel ID. I inserted the API key through a static string I have in the API key class. I obviously am not going to recommend you do that yourself. That's just how I'm doing it for the sake of time for this tutorial. And then right here I have this .asJSON method. And so we're going to delete this, and now we're going to say .as Json Async, and it's going to have a callback. So we just need to say new callback. And it's going to do all this here. So now we have these three methods. So canceled, oops, never thrown. Okay, so we can just delete this try catch block actually. That makes our life a lot easier. Oh, that's cool. Okay, so apparently IntelliJ just made our lives even easier and made it so that the Lambda is much simpler. That's kind of cool. Anyway, so now our code looks like this. So yeah, just go ahead and let IntelliJ format it for you. If you don't have IntelliJ, whatever you did before was totally fine. Okay, so now we can go ahead and access our response here. And so we are just going to say, I think get body dot toString. So we're just going to go ahead and say get server dot broadcast. And we're just going to broadcast this here. We're also going to put this in the console just so we can read this. We're just going to say get logger.info and then that. And then if it does fail, we're just going to say e.print stack trace. And we should be good here. Canceled, we can pretty much ignore. We don't need to care about that. And then I think we're good. So I'm just going to go ahead and build this plugin and run it on our testing server. And I'll be right back. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So as you can see, it's fetching this data here, and I just got back, so it's run a few times. But as you can see, we have all this data and this JSON that we need to go through, and we can see just what it's basically going to throw back at us. So we can go ahead and just delete this, and I'm going to make a comment with all of this response here. And I'm going to break this down just so we can see it a little better. So we have the root JSON here. We have kind, page info, and then page info is its own object, it seems. So we can just go ahead and, oops. Okay, there we go. So page info is its own object, and then it has this e tag in here, has items with, okay, so now this has an array of all sorts of things, it seems. So, oof. So now we can just go ahead and kind of sort through all this JSON. JSON is really weird when you have a lot of it, which is why I'm doing things this way, is just to make life easy. We can backspace to here, and then we have the end of our array. Okay, so let me break this down here. So right here you have the start of the JSON object. You have this kind, which really doesn't matter to us, but it might to you. I don't know. Not going to matter for what we're doing here though. We have page info. We have this e tag. We have items, and this is exactly what we want. We want things inside this items array. So inside of this items array, it has all these different variables in here. So here's how we have to access this. If this wasn't confusing enough already, we need to say response.getBody, and we have all this JSON stuff here. So we need to say get object, because this is a JSON object. We just need to say JSON object equals response.get, all this stuff. So now we are at the top. So now we need to go a little deeper. We need to get our items array. So we need to say JSON. We need to say JSON array. Items array is going to be equal to JSON object get JSON array items. And yeah, so now we can just keep going from here. Obviously, we would want to check for errors. So you would just say JSON body dot or JSON object dot has key, and then you say items. So you'd obviously need to say like check if that for safety. I'm spelling that wrong. Safety. There we go. And so we're just gonna not do that because it makes life hard for us, and we know that this is going to work all the time. At least right now it will. You never know. Of course, it's good practice to check for those errors, but you know, due to time, we're not going to do that. Now we're inside our items array. So we're down here, we're inside this. We need to access this JSON object inside the array because this seems like it's the only one. So yeah, let's go ahead. Oh, you know what? What happens here is we're fetching from channels, and I don't think there's really a better way to do this, but we're fetching from channels, which can return multiple channels. So that's why there's items instead of just, a single one. So we you could loop through this array. Obviously, we're just going to get the first object. So we're just going to say JSON object first object is going to be equal to items array dot get JSON object at 0. So just our first JSON object in here, which now puts us here. Now we just need to do like almost basically just one more thing. And you know what? We're just going to backspace to that just so that looks cleaner. Inside of this first object, we need to get another object, which is statistics. So we just need to say JSON object stats is going to be equal to first object dot get JSON object statistics, and we're going to copy paste that because I do not want to misspell that and have it all break. Awesome. Now the final value we want to get is our subscriber count. So now we're just going to say int sub count is going to be equal to stats dot get int and then subscriber count. And obviously we could change this to be any of these other ones. Yeah, we could change it to anything like the video count maybe. But yeah, we just want the sub count. So we're going to save this up here. So we're going to say int sub count, private int sub count is going to be equal to -1. We're just going to say 0 actually. We're going to say sub count. Whoops. We're going to set our value there. And then we're going to say get server.broadcast message chat color.translate, and we're just going to translate for our and ampersand symbol there, and we're just going to say and a Jordan Osterberg's subscriber count is now at And then we're just going to say sub count. We're just going to say type it in previous count, and we're just going to set this equal to 0. So we're going to have a previous sub count equal to -1, and we're going to say if previous sub count equals -1. Then we're just going to say string afterward. I guess this is be considered an afterward, so we're just going to set this equal to that. So okay. I'm going to explain what all this does in just a second. This is just making it look pretty and do something more than just fetching the subscriber count, because that's a little lame. So now that we have this previous sub count, we can just go and say afterward equals, put some parentheses in there. Oops. Okay, so we're going to say sub count, or wait, previous sub count minus sub count. And that should work. Well, you know what? Let's make this even better. We're gonna say boolean is greater, and that's gonna say previous sub count is less than sub count. Okay, and then we're gonna say boolean is equals previous sub. Actually, we can make this really easy. So now we're gonna say previous sub count. Okay, so this all works. We're gonna have this boolean is greater. So now we're gonna say if is greater. Oops. Then we're going to say plus, and then our sub count minus our previous sub count. So we get our current sub count, subtract the one we had before. And then we're going to now go down here and say, whoops, now go down after all this and say previous sub count equals sub count to reset that value. Otherwise, we're going to check if our previous sub count is equal to our sub count. Then we're just going to say afterward equals, actually, then we're just going to not do anything. So we're going to say if our previous sub count is less than our sub count, then we're just going to say nothing. We can remove our sign because this will automatically end up being a negative value. So now we're just going to say, put a space there and then put our afterword in. And now we're good. Okay, let me explain exactly what this all does now, and then we'll go test it. So we fetch our data from this API using our API key, which is stored here, and all this other stuff with the Uni Rest API. Then we get this object back. We sort through all that with all this stuff here, which I think I did a decent job explaining, so I won't do it again. We eventually get our subscriber count. We set up this string called afterword, which will end up here when we broadcast this message. And then right here we check if our previous sub count is not -1. Then we're going to go ahead and set our afterword up. So we're going to check if the previous sub count is greater than the sub count. You know what? We're just going to make this look a little nicer and not have that there. So we're going to say if our previous sub count is less than our sub count, then we're just going to put this plus in here and then add this value in here. Otherwise, we're just going to do that without any symbol. And this will symbolize our change in sub count between our fetches. And I can demonstrate that with unsubscribing with one of my alternative YouTube accounts, just so that it'll work and be pretty. Okay, awesome. So, and then we just obviously we set our previous sub count equal to our current sub count, and then we set we broadcast our message. Awesome. So let's go ahead and build this plugin. Okay, so as we can all see, it now says my subscriber count is at 1672. So now I'm just going to quickly open up this over here, switch my YouTube account to this one here, hopefully unsubscribe in time. Awesome. Unsubbed. So now let's just wait for that to run through. It should be here in just a second, and it should update. Yeah, there you go. So now it says, as you can see, it says -1. If I resubscribe here, because I want to keep my subscriber count where it is, then it should go ahead and say +1 in just a second here. So we're just going to wait for that to work properly anytime now. Come on. Why did I set it to 30 seconds? This is taking so long. Anytime now. There we go. Now it says +1 and it's back at that 1672. And then if we wait 30 more seconds, then it will just say nothing there. So we're just going to wait for that just because I want it to show up. Anyway, before this ends, I just wanted to remind you all that we have a Discord server. So make sure to join up in the description. There's a link. You can go ahead and click on that. And if you don't have Discord installed, it will tell you how to install it. It's this really cool app for chatting, so I can all talk to you guys and all that. And you guys can send me video suggestions. This was part of that video suggestion list. So to whoever suggested it, thank you for this idea. This is a pretty nice one, although albeit annoying, because that's always how this type of video goes. But anyway, as you can see, we have no change here. There's no afterword, and it won't be that way until you all subscribe. So go ahead and subscribe so this value goes up even higher. I've been loving the support I've got recently. I went on vacation the last week or so, and I came back to like a lot of new subscribers, so I'm very, very happy. It's really, really cool to see you all watching me on YouTube and learning all this stuff that I'm putting out there. So thank you all so much for watching the channel. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Take care.
Alright, kick back, relax, and let's hit it again. While you go tell your mother, father, cousin, the kid, and your other friends that don't even have a clue what this doo-doo crew is about to do. You know it ain't fool's gold, this is kryptonite. Super MCs freeze when I hit the